try and keep things light and relaxed as much as possible here, okay? So, all right. Briefly tell us about yourself and why you feel you're the best candidate for city council.
Before we go there, we got some more to add.
Oh, we gotta add some
Yeah,
more?
we gotta go with this.
Oh, I see.
Okay. This
Okay, well, you want this one first?
this one first.
The whole thing?
The whole thing, you can pick one.
All right, I get a do-over. All right, welcome to the Town Hall Candidate Forum hosted by the Montrose Citizens Voting League. We will be your hosts and moderators this evening. Thank you very much for attending. In the interest of safety, you may wear a mask and observe social distancing if desired. There are additional chairs located in the back. I don't think we need them. All right, and then before we get started to review the rules, questions addressed to the candidates this evening have been prepared by the Voting League, and we will be accepting questions submitted by the citizens. I believe I have some of those in hand here as well. And so, questions are applicable to all of the candidates, and those here tonight may continue to submit additional questions throughout the evening and just simply pass them up to us. Remember, the forum is meant to be informative. We will not allow outbursts, accusations, or any one candidate to be singled out or ambushed, and if this occurs, we will have to ask you to leave. Those of you present this evening are asked to please refrain from any unruly behavior like heckling or bullying the candidates. If you are unhappy with an answer, you may talk to the candidate after the forum, and you may discuss the issues in the politics section of Nextdoor or Montrose Politics, or simply reserve your vote for another candidate. We'll move along as quickly as possible in order to ask as many questions as we can. This is not a debate, it's a chance for candidates to respond to pertinent questions. No questions were given to the candidates in advance, so all responses will be off the cuff.
Okay. We will introduce the candidates, and we have a 1-minute time frame to tell them about themselves so you get an idea who they are. After we begin, each candidate will have a time limit of either 1 or 2 minutes to answer the question, and we'll rotate through those, starting left and then working left to right, and we'll start with a different candidate each time. Candidates do not have to use the entire time if they don't wish to. You may pass on a question if you choose not to answer. We will start with it again. We'll start with a different candidate working left to right. The timer will turn yellow when you have 15 seconds left in both the 1-minute and 2-minute time frames, and it turns red when it hits the time frame, either 1 or 2 minutes, and you'll have 10 seconds to wrap up. After that 10 seconds, we'll cut you off, and you'll see the timer flash. We ask the candidates to be respectful of each other as well as to the audience. Please do not talk over each other, and be sure to speak loudly into the microphone so everyone can hear you, and so it will record on the video. In the event that your microphone dies, please talk loudly so we can hear you. We'll try to wrap up no later than 9 o'clock so we can have some mingle time afterwards. Again, welcome to the candidate forum, and let's get started.
All right, back to asking you all to briefly tell us about yourself and why you feel you are the best candidate for city council. Dave, I guess we'll start with you.
Absolutely. My name is Dave Paradis. My wife and I moved here to Montrose in August of 2020 from Richfield. Completely embraced myself into this town. We want to end up, being a family and all that stuff, and our roots here. And I've had the privilege and honor to be appointed for the last 2 years as your city councilman. My feelings on why I could be the best candidate for you guys and for this town is I don't bring ego to anything. I do everything for this town. I listen to the people. I'm here to not fight, not start wars. I'm here to ensure that we can have good discourse and to grow this community the way it needs to be grown, the correct way. And, honestly, we love this town as my wife and I, and we just want to make sure everything's done right here.
Michelle, your turn.
I'm Michelle Otto. I've been in this town, I've lived here, my husband and my 4 kids for oh gosh, 50 years now. Been on the city council, I was mayor at one point. I think I would be a good candidate for this position to come back onto the city council due to the fact that I have been gone a couple years, but still very active in the community. Very much continuing to do a lot of things that are still going on in here. I still attend council meetings. I'm here to, again, just to work with the people. That's just been the main goal for, I don't know, I've been a volunteer and actively going for 20 plus years probably, and still talking to the people and working with the people. And I mean, I still get phone calls and, you know, still try to help out as best as I can, even though I'm not on the city council right now. So just trying to come back in and, you know, just to continue to help the community grow.
Tammy, go ahead.
Hi. My name is Tammy Serpernot. You don't have to pronounce it. I didn't before I met my husband's family. I didn't even say it out loud. I would like to start by saying thank you to Karen and Greg for doing all this. I appreciate it. I know that this is a hectic time and to have one more thing on your plate. I just appreciate those of you who have made the effort to come out. I have 6 children. My wonderful husband Greg, who's been very supportive. I am involved in the community right now. As we have been everywhere we've lived, we moved here 4 years ago from Eden Prairie. In the last couple of years of all the unrest with politics, I looked at Greg and said, look, we either need to get involved again or we need to move out of the state because I'm just done. And we started attending meetings and very quickly felt like there might be things that we could do. Oh, thank you.
Right, and Andrew Rasmussen is our fourth candidate. He was not able to be here tonight because of family commitments. All right, and our next question is, people are motivated to get involved for many different reasons. Tell us why you are running for city council. Michelle.
Again, I'm running because, I mean, as you mentioned, people are wanting to get involved. We currently have a group that was struggling. Montrose Days was struggling, and so a group of us stepped up to continue to get that, because it's very important to keep this community active and keeping people together. So we got that back up and going, and it was just talked about probably a week ago, you know, about getting the organizations to join as well. A member of our Park and Rec Commission thought it was one of the groups wouldn't be welcome back, but again, we're here to just build the community and get everybody as much involved as we can, and that group is striving really well. Just because you live in the city, just in the city limits, it's the people that are around us too. I mean, the townships and everything, it's about bringing everybody. It's not just the city, you know. My feeling is we need to be a community. So that's why I'm back doing what I'm doing.
And Tammy.
As I had said, I was motivated because of the political climate here in the state. Greg and I decided to become delegates. We were here, we were delegates to the state convention, and just really thought that I have experience. I lived in 11 different states. I have experience with multiple city councils, multiple communities, multiple community leaders, and have run small businesses, and I have organized huge fundraisers for different shows, network, and multiple things. But I wasn't sure that there was really something I could do for Montrose besides attend and support things that are going on here, except for one of the meetings that I attended recently, city council meetings. I felt as though there were residents that weren't really being represented, or at least didn't really understand what was going on. And I've been in that situation, so I feel like I can help communicate things to residents and council.
All right, and Dave?
Everything basically when we moved here was to embrace this town, embrace the community of Montrose, not only with being on city council, but getting to know people, and also joining the volunteer fire department as well about a year ago. I take pride in this town, a lot of time spent helping this town, and it's something that is, for me, very prideful into where I now live, and I can see the pride in everybody that's here, and I just want to make sure that we can continue on the right path, without fighting, without bickering, with working together, working with other outside organizations within this town, embracing them, and making sure that this is a prosperous town and a town we can all be proud of.
All right, so moving on to the next question. This is about qualifications, education, training, and experience. And it looks like you'll have 1 minute to answer this. Managing and providing direction for a city requires a strong understanding of the financial, economic growth strategies, infrastructure, zoning, public safety, and the regulatory or statutory requirements impacting the city. What education, background, experience, or training, including League of Minnesota Cities training, do you have that uniquely qualifies you for serving on the city council? Tammy.
Thank you. I have been, as I said, involved with communities everywhere we've lived. I have 6 children. If you think that's an easy task to manage, that should qualify me just in that. You probably want to know that I've run several businesses, successful businesses. I have been a leader in the community, everything from PTO to scouts to, again, organizing large fundraisers. Fiscally, I feel like I have a lot of experience. You try budgeting for 6 children on 1 income, and I think I can stick to a budget. I basically feel like all the experiences I've gained over the years for every position I've had, whether it be business or community, that it adds to my experience that I can bring to the city.
Okay, Dave, you're next.
The experiences I have on not only obviously League of Minnesota Cities with seminars and trainings that we have as a council to utilize, but I am currently the regional sales manager for Surly Brewing Company, a multi-million-dollar company that I am in charge of the entire state. My job entails a lot of different hats, meeting a lot of different people, monitoring a lot of different personalities, and being able to be a leader. Not only to grow my team, but to grow myself as well. I think that's a trait that this city needs. I think that we need to not only we can disagree on things, but we can disagree the right way, respectfully, and I think that that's how you get the right things done. So not every idea that I have is something that we're going to go with, and I'm okay with that because I think whatever we choose as a council, as a city, is going to be the right path for us, and that's the leader that I would want, and I hope that's a leader that you guys would want as well.
Thank you. And Michelle.
The experience that I have is, as I mentioned, 4 years of city council, 4 years of mayor, the League of Minnesota Cities trainings that we've done. Fiscally, I'm here, you know, I approach the council almost monthly, asking about the, you know, fiscally what's going on, the budget questions. I'm a culinary director, so I have to, you all know the hardness that we have going on right now with purchasing food and all that kind of stuff. So just keeping within a budget on that is kind of like managing 6 children. So leadership, like I mentioned, you know, we did have the groups that were struggling here in town, so took it upon ourselves to get up and, you know, get the group of us to get up and get these guys going and take off with things, you know, help with the fundraising, help bringing the community together, getting the town celebration to continue. Park and Rec, you know, we're up and going again. That was gone for almost a year.
Anytime.
All right, so our next topic, vision statement, positive change. You get 1 minute for this. Previously, we have seen election signs indicating an intent to bring positive change or a new direction for the city of Montrose. If elected, what are 2 or 3 positive changes you will implement, and why do you feel they are necessary? And I guess we're going to start with you, Dave.
Absolutely, 2 positive changes. I mean, the one main thing, and I think this has affected all of us in this entire town, has been the manganese issue. It's a tricky issue because it's a lot of money that's going to overtake to get the water treatment facility that we need. I think that's a huge positive change if we can find a way to work with the state to get the funding that we can bring it in. And I think that puts a lot of minds at ease as to the new requirements that the state has put as far as manganese levels. The second thing is to Michelle's point, getting these organizations fully up and running, get people involved in our community. I feel like we have the same set of people that are always around helping, and it's well appreciated. And I'd love to see if more and more of us could come together and really make this town one.
Okay, and Michelle.
To go off of David's point, he's right, the water issue is a big issue that's going on, and I know the council is working hard on, getting that up and going. It's a big expense, and, kind of working with the capital improvement plan and getting that within the budget is going to be a task, but it's, one that they are actually working really hard on doing. Communication and just discussion. It's really tough for me to go to different meetings and there's not much discussion within the council. It's kind of, I have a hard time understanding how decisions are made when there really is no discussion. So I would like to see a little bit of that come back. And then support with the staff is very important too. We have there's like a whole brand new staff up at City Hall right now. So very new people, and just, kind of continue to support them. There's a fly, but. So, I just think bringing the community, I've gotten a lot of people to come back and help us, so.
Like Michelle, my last career position was food service director at a nursing home. Again, not easy to budget, but the biggest thing I can bring to make a positive change is just to remind the people of Montrose that there are so many good people here. When Greg and I first moved in, one of the things we decided we weren't going to buy the first year was a snow blower. We had to buy a washing machine, all the expenses of moving, new flooring, that kind of thing. So we shoveled. That was the year, 4 years ago. If you remember, we had 56 inches of snow before February 15th. So we did a lot of shoveling, but one morning we heard people in our driveway and went out, and there were 5 people, men on the street, that had been shoveling. They shoveled our walk and our sidewalk. That's the Montrose that I met when I first moved here. Not the Montrose that the county slogan is, and I just feel like I can help bring a remembrance of that.
Thanks for the time. The 1-minute questions are tough to get all of your thoughts out there, and I understand that, but in the interest of time, we will move to some 2-minute questions in just a minute. I'll let you expand a little further. When leading through change, it's important for leaders to establish a clear understanding of the vision, mission, and purpose for the organization in order to secure commitment and engagement of others in that change process. What is your vision statement for the City of Montrose, And what major goals or objectives will you implement in order to achieve your vision? And we'll start with Michelle.
My vision is just like it's always been, it's just bringing this community together, getting people involved, and reaching out. You know, we need, I mean, there's not many people here tonight, but we need to get, you know, we struggled through the 2020 stuff, and now we need to get people back and get them engaged in what we've got going on. And I think that I can do that with the skills that I have and the leadership skills that I bring. That's just my goal, is getting, like Tammy said, get rid of that image that we have here in Montrose, you know. It's not a real good image, and we need to change that. So that's what my goal would be.
Tammy?
My biggest goal for the city would be to distinguish us from, we are America, we are a part of America, and we are very different from any third world country because of three major things. One, drinking water. I would love to see what the possibilities are. Two, education. I think it's incredibly important, and I would support any kind of education, every kind of education for the community. And third, art. The biggest difference between any third world country and any country that's thriving is the arts. Here, a lot of arts are sports, which are the same, kind of, in the same range, but I feel like those are the things that are important. Those are the extra things that our kids need, that we need to give us a mental health break, which we haven't had a lot of in the last year, 2 years, 3 years. So my goal for the city, as I had mentioned before, would be, one, to get rid of this negative stigma that we have. I couldn't believe the things I heard after we moved in. And so I was just shocked to hear, because I have only met, what did you, I thought we had 2 minutes.
No, 1 minute on this one.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
We got one more 1 minute question, but we're going to go with Dave on this 1 minute question, and then I'll get to the 2 minutes. Okay, then you can go on. Dave, go ahead. Vision, major goals, and objectives.
Yeah, my vision for this town would be to push through the adversity. This has been a trying time in our country, in our world, this last few years, not only with the pandemic, but with at home, at work, supply chains, everything. So I think being a community-oriented city, working together, we can be that shining star that Wright County never thought we could be. So the changes that I would like to see is there's big issues ahead of us. You know, it hasn't been fun for anybody with this road construction, but that was a big need that this town needed to get done. And we pushed through it, and we worked together. We worked through the heartaches of not being able to get through roads, of road closures, of, you know, cement's not here, all this stuff. So again, things aren't going to be easy, but if we work together, we'll be able to get through these challenges. The other issues of, you know, we're at capacity right now for what we can bring in for homes. So we need to build a bigger plant, a bigger wastewater. We need to work with the city of Waverly on this. In order to do so,
Okay, a 1 minute question. Last 1 minute question for this session. The relationship between the city council and the city staff and employees is a key part of effective city operations. As Michelle said, we have a fairly new city staff. What specific actions will you take to create unity of purpose for the city council and to develop a cohesive and effective working relationship between the city council and the city staff? Tammy?
That's easy, communication. One of my largest strengths is communication. Obviously, talking is not an issue for me. The bigger question is getting you to close with them. But I do listen. I feel like it's most important to, again, communicate. I'm on a first name basis with everyone here in the city. I don't know all the firemen yet, but most everybody else. it hasn't been an issue. I think just taking a few minutes to listen to what people have to say and being compassionate is really all it takes. I have asked a lot of questions since I moved in, and I feel like that's one of the biggest roles that I would have here. I've communicated that with Christy and with Mike and the city administrator as well. I ask a lot of questions, just need to know what's going on.
And Dave?
You know, being that the last 2 years I've been able to be around for the changes at City Hall, so I've gotten to know each of those individuals over the time. I go out of my way to check in with them if I can get home from work early enough where the City Hall's still open to see what's going on day to day. The amount of calls, the amount of emails, the amount of activity that they go through is more than anybody could imagine. So I always like to make sure that I'm on point with what's happening with the city at all times, so I know if there's any issues that need to be uncovered and dealt with on a timely manner. Lastly, working with the current city council and mayor, you know, as I've said, we don't agree on everything wholeheartedly, but we have, you know, the right discussion to get through anything that happens. I think personally for myself, I can speak for myself, I'm here to make sure that we get everything done that is what the city would want. That's it.
And Michelle?
As Tammy said, it's communication. Even though I haven't been with this, I'm still with, you know, within the city, but not on city council. I still have city staff that will ask me questions because of the history that I have with, you know, everything that's gone on around here. And it's just listening to them. You know, there's been some decisions that have been made over the last few years where city staff is not actually on board with it. You know, the council can make a lot of decisions, but if we don't listen to what the city staff wants, they're the ones who actually listen to all the complaints from the residents. So council can make decisions, but we really need to take into consideration what the city staff, what their input is as well, and just support them, you know, as much as we can. Yeah, just always be there. And, you know, we do have all the new staff, and I still stop up there and say, hey, I mean, I just asked David, how's the new guy? Because they just hired a new water treatment guy. How's he doing? How's things going with him? You know, because they're the ones who really keep the city going.
And time. Okay, now we'll move to the 2-minute questions. So you have 2 minutes to respond. This has to do with city council and city operations. Part of the function of the city council is to provide managerial oversight of city employees with respect to job performance, reviews, personnel management, advancement, pay and salary, and if necessary, disciplinary actions. What specific actions will you take to manage city personnel and employees, and how will you ensure these actions are in alignment with the personnel management policies and legal requirements? And we'll start with Dave.
Yeah, just so everybody knows, I mean, some issues with certain employees, you know, there's a little committee that meets, so not all of us are a part of those discussions. But if I were to be asked to be a part of those, I have that history of running a team and dealing with, you know, personal matters or disciplinary actions or even just performance reviews and raises and all that. When it comes to how we go about that, you know, it's fact-finding everything, depending on what the issue is, making sure we have everything there. It's disciplinary actions. Then we need to make sure we have the right story of what happened and what, you know, from everybody. So it's not a he said, she said. So when it comes down to that, you know, hopefully there's not terminations, but I mean, it's all written out, you know, it's in the guidelines. And when it comes to raises, I mean, obviously they're union, so it's a lot of union negotiations and all that stuff. So, you know, working with the different unions to ensure the correct increase and all that stuff. I know that they just got a nice little bump, and that was due to the fact that, you know, we had an issue of males were getting paid more than females. And so we wanted to make sure that that was taken care of. The other issue being is that cities of our size around us were paying more, and we didn't want to lose our good people. And so sometimes you have to take those actions to ensure that we can keep the wonderful staff that we do have. And that's how you retain people. And obviously the new water worker that we got, he actually came from Montana. So we have somebody from out of state who wanted to come to Montrose to work for us, a younger gentleman who's very eager and willing to set roots here. So we're very excited to see how that goes out.
Michelle?
As David mentioned, there is a committee that, works with all the personnel issues, and that committee was actually brought on board when I was a city council member. So I felt it was important to keep in touch with what the city staff has, got going on, and for us to communicate what was being done on the day-to-day process. Because, city council goes to meetings, but we don't always see that day-to-day, so it's best to be, stop in and see and talk to those guys. So, unfortunately, I have been on the end of having to fire some city staff, and it's all about documentation. You gotta have it. If you don't, then the unions come on board and you can have an issue. So I have been on through all of that. I've negotiated multiple union contracts. Working with city staff, you just always got to communicate. Even though I'm not there now, I still call and ask, hey, what's going on? How are you guys doing? What can be done to, help? If there's an issue, somebody might have something going on Facebook page or something. What can we do to help fix the solution? Get a solution to what's going on. So, always communicate with the staff.
Okay. And Tammy?
I feel like my experience in food service, in being a director of food service, also in working with the unions, would give me a huge advantage for working with the city here. I've worked for 3 companies that honored managers that kept employees. Longevity is huge. For McDonald's example, the more turnover you have, the more costly it is. And it isn't just about the cost of training employees, but developing the relationships and the emotional things that go on when you're bringing in a new team member, people need to work with, just getting to know each other. And it takes a toll. And a lot of large companies recognize that. And so I've had bonuses and a lot of acknowledgement for longevity in employees. I've had employees come to me crying because they had to leave. I felt so bad. One of the young girls that worked for me when I owned the restaurant, she said, I have to leave, I'm going to college. People have to move. People have to move on and have goals, and the restaurant certainly isn't what I would want for them to do for the rest of their lives. But in any situation, communicating with anybody, any employee, coworker, council member, resident is really the most important, learning to understand how they communicate and how they work. And I wouldn't have an issue. I've fired one employee over the years, most I could convince to get their act together or move on. And so it's never been an issue as far as resolving.
And time. We're going to change the next one to a 1-minute response instead of 2, because we've already addressed some of it. This again has to do with employees. Employee compensation is a large part of the city budget, about 20%. We have seen a steady increases in wages for city employees, often with annual increases of 5% year on year. What are your thoughts on managing wages to market averages and merit-based wage increases and controlling the employee compensation expense budget? And Michelle.
As I said, I negotiated many of the union contracts that are in place right now, and when I had those contracts to do, it was merit, it was, based on performance. Is how their raises came about. And I firmly believe that that's the way it still needs to be. It shouldn't be an automatic the way that it was, and it might, I'm not exactly sure what the union contract says right now, but it is fully on performance based. And yes, we do need to be in competition with what's going on, with the cities around us. And I also take into consideration the insurance portion as part of their benefits too. So, and currently right now the city is paying 100% for the city staff's employee health insurance and their families. And so that's something that, in my personal opinion, needs to be looked at, because that is part of their wage package as well. So it's a huge part of the budget.
Time.
Very huge.
Tammy?
My understanding, and I only asked a few questions about this, that the union picked up a lot of the expense or gave the insurance that is much more affordable, so it's costing the city actually less now than it was before. But I agree that it needs to be, good employees are worth keeping, but you still have to make a bottom line. You still have to make the budget. So people can be happy with their job and stay in their job without having to make a lot more money if it's not a tense situation or stressful work situation. But asking questions, how people are getting along, budgeting, working on what I do best is homework. I was not a good homework doer in school, but when I went to college, I realized the importance of it. So, and I'm out of time.
And Dave?
Yeah, to Tammy's point, the insurance piece that was covered and was actually lowered in this last round. But as I've said, during these pandemic times, you have companies that are struggling to find help. You have a driver shortage. You have, restaurants that are closing down, like the one in our own town because they couldn't find workers. So when we have the workers that we do, it's our duty, and if they're good, to keep them around. And I do believe that our staff that we have right now within the city has done a tremendous job, especially with the giant struggle of the reconstruction here in the streets. Those guys on Public Works were stressed to the max. And so, again, I think it is our duty to ensure merit increases. I think we have to look at competitively what's around us, surrounding towns the same size, and make sure that we're as competitive as they are.
And this year, I'm sure, will be a challenge because of the inflationary increases as well to deal with. So I think nobody touched on that, but this one's going to be a tough, tough year. So we'll switch over. Yep. And we'll do that in 2 minutes. Okay.
All right, you will get 2 minutes for this question. All right, Montrose has been annexing property on all 4 corners of the city. There's been no movement on developing the land we currently have for years. What is your strategy going forward on annexing land from neighboring townships? Dave, we'll start with you.
So it's a good question. We actually just had a meeting the other day about annexing 2 properties in Woodland Township with a developer who wants to start building up there. And with that comes a little hesitation from my end because, as I've said, we are at capacity with what we have plotted out with other developers. So as those are building out, we're doing a study right now with the city of Waverly on what it's going to take and what increases are needed to ensure we can get more rooftops in this town. So when it comes to annexing more and more from Marysville or from Franklin, or from Woodland. As long as these neighbors and these owners want to do it, I am all for it. I think growing this town the right way, and right now we have to be slow and steady until we can build up some of the issues we have. But the more rooftops we have, the opportunity to bring in business to this town will happen. And it just takes time. But if we all work together, if we get this done right, we can make it happen very successfully, I think, over the course of 10, 15 years to make that start becoming true to what Montrose is. As far as developing the towns, the areas we have quite a few developers that are going to get ready to go in the springtime here. So, you will still see a lot of developments coming in. We get a lot of people asking to come in and look at land. But again, we have to little hold on it at this point. But we're eager to let them build and bring more people to town.
And Michelle?
As mentioned, there are a couple different neighboring properties that are around in our township. Over by Steamboat, there's farms that live over there. It's about talking to the people that own those properties and, working with them to get them to come in here. But like David said, we have to deal with the wastewater treatment plant being at capacity, the water stuff that's going on. And, there's a lot more to it than just getting people annexed into the city. We also, once we do get the rooftops in, hopefully we'll bring in more businesses. And once we get the businesses here, we got to support them and keep them here. Just like, the restaurant, sadly, they did have to close. So, but it's just supporting, what we have and working with the townships that are around us to get them to want to come in, be a part of the city, and help us develop.
And Tammy?
Could you repeat the question for me, please?
All right, Montrose has been annexing property on all four corners of the city. There has been no movement on developing the land we currently have for years. What is your strategy going forward on annexing land from neighboring townships?
The strategy I would have would be exactly what's been discussed. You cannot bring in more rooftops if you cannot take care of the residents. If you can't handle the water or the wastewater, you are in deep doo-doo. That's just all there is to it. It has to be fixed first. So I think prioritizing taking care of our own house and what we have going on now before we move forward on anything else, we wouldn't be able to support other businesses, other community members if we can't provide basic needs. And there are many ways. I had one business that I started that was strictly built on the HRA grant. And I have applied for grants and helped others apply for grants. There is funding out there when you look for it and when you do the homework. Again, you can get the help that you need for your community. I feel like it's important to develop and monitor the growth. Growth is healthy. It's going to come no matter what. No matter what we do, we want to keep a small town feel, but it's going to happen. It's going to grow. And so for me, the plan would be to lead it in a positive direction with standards of high education, high community involvement, good clean water, and no big city issues with wastewater treatment. Sorry, I was just thinking of the last meeting we had about what they were doing with all the stuff there.
We'll get there.
I get distracted. That's coming up later. If I knew the questions ahead of time, I wouldn't be repeating myself. But, sorry. It's important to be prepared and to have a plan. And to have a plan that's going to take us in the direction that the residents
And
want.
time.
Right, the next question is 2 minutes. This year, we are facing significant financial headwinds with inflation and Wright County tax levy increases. What actions can you take to reduce the tax burden on Montrose citizens and to represent and support their interests with respect to not only the city of Montrose, but also Wright County and school board tax levies? And we'll start with Michelle.
To support, so with the road construction that's going on right now, it is undecided if the citizens that are severely impacted by it are going to be annexed or assessed, on their properties. And that's going to be a huge burden onto them individually if that is the decision that is made. It wouldn't be not everybody would approve as to what, increasing our taxes for that, but as a city as a whole, we all use the roads, and it is very important that I think that we don't just put that burden onto one homeowner or however many homeowners are here. So keeping taxes, taxes are going to go up over the years. We really haven't increased very much, but it's a city as a whole, like I said, with, we have to just, I don't know, that's a tough one. My big thing right now, I guess, would be the assessment of what's going on with, it's a 9 million or so, something like that, and to put that on just the people that are impacted individually is really, that's a huge burden. And I think it's something that needs to be taken on. I know it's not people aren't gonna like it, but it should be taken on as a city across the board.
And go ahead, Tammy. If you want me to repeat the question.
Sure, that would be great.
Okay, so it was a long question here. So this has to deal with inflation and Wright County tax levy increases. And what actions can you take to reduce the tax burden on Montrose citizens and to represent and support their interests with respect to not only the city of Montrose, but also Wright County and school board tax levies?
Sometimes you just need to bite the bullet. Sometimes you just need to make a tough choice and do what is best for everybody in the long run. And that doesn't necessarily mean assess one group of people for something the whole city is going to use. It doesn't necessarily mean a hardship has to come. But I think it's the thing that the community should decide. I think that as much as they can have input, they should. There's no reason for them to not have input over anything that goes on in our city. Some things cannot be avoided. We do not assess people's property from Montrose. That's done by the county. And when your taxes go up, it's because they decided that your property is worth more. And I have been in a position where I've argued before, because if I had to sell my house today, it might be worth quite a bit more, or at least it was in the last year, than it was when we purchased it. But who knows what it's going to be worth in the next year, after all this stuff hits. It's important to look at the options, weigh everything, and take in all the opinions. And again, no one is ever going to please everybody, but we live in a democracy. People have voices, and people need to be heard. They need to help decide these big decisions. And yes, it comes down to the vote of a council or the vote of a county or the vote of a city, but it needs to be heard. It needs to be heard by everybody. If we have 65% of the people that want to spread it out, we should spread it out. If we can afford to just bite the bullet and do without a few things for a while, then that's what we do.
And time.
Okay. And do you want me to repeat the question?
Oh, good, thank you. This is the fun question, right? This is why everybody's here. You know, looking at it, when we get our taxes, when we get our assessment from the county, we have no control over that as far as the city goes. And unfortunately, I feel that at times we are assessed very incorrectly. I like to call it the new Taj Mahal Government Center. That's what we're paying for. That's why our assessments are the way they are. And there's nothing that we as a city can do about that, unfortunately. You know, I've been a part of 2 budgetary meetings going to taxes, and you know, this year was rather insightful. We have our tax capacity has gone up $900,000. In order to continue to do what we need to do for the things that we need in this town, water treatment facility, you know, that's minimum $10 million. Expansion of our wastewater, it's going to be another big chunk there. And going through the meeting, and again, December will be the deciding point of what we actually do, but we were able to increase, but actually lower the taxes on what your actual dollar amount is. And we need to take advantage of that when we can, to ensure that we can get these big things, big projects done for this town. I am not a fan of taxes. I don't think anybody is. But in our town, I think we have a lot of things that we need, not things that we want, but things that we need. And in order to lower the burden on us, on the taxpayers, the city needs to look at different areas that they can build, whether it be, you know, just off the top of my head, a municipal liquor store, stuff like that, that brings in dollars for the town. Those are the things that we as a city need to look at, where we're bringing income in rather than just taking the taxes from the city.
Yeah. Now we get to talk about the project. So, do we want to go to 1 minute on response on this one, since we already talked a little bit about the streets and sewer? Yeah, let's go to a 1 minute on this one.
All right, so we've seen significant infrastructure projects over the past year with our streets, water and sewer replacement, an estimated $7.7 million project for which funding has been bonded. Will you support assessments on property owners when this project is completed? And if not, how will we pay for this project? And Tammy, we'll have you start with that.
Again, there's only so much we can do as a council, as a city. Some of it we get to choose, some of it we don't. The budget for the county, and like you said, we're paying for Taj Mahal, but we're also able to take advantage of things up there that the lake, the grocery shopping, the just shopping period. So there are advantages and disadvantages to all taxes. I am not a great proponent of taxes. I really, 6 children, 1 income, keep thinking that. You can only do so much with what you have. You can only stretch it so far. But we have to do what we have to do to have clean water, to have safe streets, to have homes. If people want to live in a safe community, we have to pay for a good cause if we want to live in a community.
When it comes to the street project, it is something we haven't discussed, whether or not the assessments are going to go through. I think that it's the plan should be to look at all situations, look at different kind of options, and go with what's best for this town. I personally am not in favor of assessing the certain individuals that are affected by that. I feel like this project was long overdue. We're talking about sewer system from 1960. We're talking about clay tile and all that. So I think that there is a way to ensure that the homeowners that are affected by this feel safe in the fact knowing that they won't get assessed for these projects. This is a betterment of the town, and same thing when it comes to the water treatment, the expansion of the wastewater. This is a town payment. It's a betterment for Montrose, and I think we need to work together and understand that.
On the road project here, this project has been in the works for, gosh, many, many years. Myself and Greg worked on this, putting it in place, I don't even know how many years ago, but, and we've done big projects here in town before, you know, on the south side of town, and we didn't assess the homeowners. We took it as a city because we put it in our capital improvement plan, and we worked through it. It's the same way that we should do it now. No one person, I mean, I sat through many, many open public hearings, listening to the homeowners come up and cry to us because they couldn't afford some of the assessments that could be put onto them. And so that's why we have our capital improvement plans, is to plan for stuff like this and put it within our budget. Sometimes it goes over budget, you know, sometimes things come up that we don't expect, but still, that's why we plan for it. I don't agree with putting it on, you know, putting it on individuals. It's too much of a hardship.
And time. And just a side note, the 7.7 million was the original estimate of the project. That doesn't include any cost overruns or anything of that nature. So. And then we're going to go to 2-minute questions.
So we've got one more, and then we'll take a break.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, this is our last question, and then we'll have a break. All right, economic development and growth. Montrose is very much a bedroom community. Creating local jobs and local shopping opportunities certainly improves the socioeconomic viability of the city overall. What plans do you have to attract economic development, support smart planning and zoning, and reinvigorate stalled or vacant properties within the city? And Dave, we'll start with you.
As a quote unquote bedroom community, like I said, in order to grow, to get some of the amenities that I think most of this town would like, we do have to grow a little bit more. I know that Councilmember Marzalek worked tirelessly to get an Aldi in here. I was in conversations with Hy-Vee for a little bit until they pull out projects of towns 10 times our size in the state. You know, so it's a tough battle to be a bedroom community and want these amenities. I think we can still be a small town, still enjoy who we truly are, with a solid growth plan to ensure that we can build these amenities for us, get things moving forward, and, you know, not have to drive 15, 20 minutes to get groceries. I think we'd all enjoy that a lot. But I think that there's definitely an opportunity here to find out what we can do, continue the conversations, to get the right people to the table with us and see what we can do to grow the right way.
Michelle.
Our EDA has been struggling for years. Councilmember Marzalek has been working tirelessly to try and build, you know, and get businesses to come into town. But as we said, what is going to get a business here is getting in rooftops. But getting in rooftops is also a struggle because of our wastewater treatment plant. So it's marketing the town. I mean, we really need to get people out there that are going to market the town and give us a positive image. It's not like for lack of trying. Like you said, Tom worked tirelessly on Aldi. You know, we worked on we worked on getting the preserves, which is right outside of town, and it's just, we just got to market, you know. A lot of people don't know where Montrose is, what Montrose has to offer, and so we just got to get our name out there to get businesses to want to come here.
1 or 2 minutes?
2.
This is 2.
We're switching it up on you. I know, isn't that wonderful?
No, I just wanted to finish the thought that I was, you get what you pay for in city employees. for in clean water, you get what you pay for in sewage. You get what you pay for in businesses coming. I think the roads was a huge, huge plus for the community. Montrose doesn't really have a downtown, but with the roads and the curbs, the sewers and everything, we can become that little quaint little community, the clean little looking, and it's, I was a cake decorator for years, part of one of the businesses that I'm in, and it's like the border that you put on the cake after you finish frosting it. So if we have the things here now, and we're going to pay for them no matter what, right? I mean, we live here, we're going to pay for it. Do I think one person should pay for it or 10 people? No, because we're all going to enjoy it. But the best part of whatever decision you make to spend money on is the growth in the direction we want to go. If you decide that you want your town to have 4 bars and 3 places to sell marijuana and no grocery stores, what kind of businesses are you going to attract? If you decide you want your little clean community to look and be that little clean community, you attract businesses that are like-minded. And I think changing the reputation that Montrose has, I think the streets have been a huge part of that. And I think it'll be way worth it. And it'll be way worth it to pay for the water or the water waste treatment. I mean, it's just, it's where put your money where your mouth is. It's hard. It's hard. It was hard paying for 6 kids to go to school. It was hard when I went to college, raising 6 children. Sorry.
Okay, that brings us to the close of our first session. I've got 8:04. Can we go ahead and take a let's do a 10-minute, so we'll be back in our seats at 14 after. And would you please put your mics back in the charger so that we can charge them again a little more, because the power was out on them and I want to make sure that they work.
We can switch it off.